The Harris family, once prosperous and respected, found their name forever linked to the old house on Nooseneck Hill. The house, a looming structure of weathered wood and cracked glass, had stood for generations, a silent sentinel to the changing fortunes of the town. It was a place of shadows, where whispers of forgotten tragedies lingered in the musty air. The Harrises had always lived in the shadow of the house, its presence a constant reminder of their family's intertwined fate. They were a family touched by both fortune and tragedy, their lives a tapestry woven with threads of success and sorrow. Yet, it was the old house that would come to define them, its sinister reputation casting a pall over their lives. From the moment they moved into the house, a sense of unease settled upon them. It was as if the very walls themselves exuded an aura of malevolence, a subtle oppression that weighed heavily on their souls. Strange noises echoed through the empty halls at night, footsteps that seemed to come from nowhere and lead to nowhere. The house held secrets, dark and ancient, secrets that whispered of a time before man and hinted at horrors beyond human comprehension. It was a place where the veil between realities felt thin, where the echoes of forgotten nightmares bled through into the waking world. The locals, with their inherited superstitions and whispered tales, always gave the house a wide berth. They spoke of strange lights in the windows, of disembodied voices carried on the wind, and of a nameless dread that clung to anyone who dared to approach.
I swear, I saw things moving in the shadows of the attic, things that were not human, things that made my blood run cold.
Her words, spoken in hushed tones, painted a picture of a place steeped in ancient evil, a place where the very laws of nature seemed to bend and break. She spoke of rituals performed under the pale light of the moon, of sacrifices made to appease forgotten gods, and of a darkness that lay at the heart of the house, a darkness that hungered for living souls. These stories, passed down through generations, had woven themselves into the fabric of the town's history. They were more than just tales to frighten children. They were warnings, cautionary reminders of the unseen forces that lurked at the edges of reality. The house, they said, was a conduit to something ancient and evil, something that predated humanity and viewed humans as nothing more than playthings. Whether these stories were true or simply the product of overactive imaginations, they cast a long shadow over the house on Nooseneck Hill. It was a place to be avoided, a place where darkness reigned supreme. Roby Harris, the family matriarch, became the first victim of the house's sinister influence. Her descent into madness was slow, insidious, a gradual unraveling of her mind that left her family horrified and helpless.
Whispers in the night, cold, unseen hands caressing my face, eyes watching me from the darkness.
Her once sharp mind, now clouded by fear and paranoia, conjured up visions of unspeakable horror. She saw things that were not there, heard voices that whispered her name, and felt the constant presence of something evil lurking just beyond the veil of perception. Her family, desperate to help, could only watch in horror as she slipped further and further into the abyss. Doctors were summoned, their faces etched with concern as they examined Roby, but their remedies proved useless against the unseen forces that tormented her. They spoke of delusions, of melancholia, of a mind grappling with forces it could not comprehend, but they could offer no cure for the terror that consumed her. Her madness became a spectre that haunted the house, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath its skin. It was a darkness that seemed to feed on sanity, growing stronger with each passing day. William Harris, her son, returned from the war a changed man. The horrors he had witnessed on the battlefield had hardened him, instilled in him a sense of discipline and a belief in the tangible.
He dismissed the stories of the house as mere superstition, the ramblings of frightened minds.
He had faced death on the battlefield, stared into the abyss of human cruelty, and emerged unbroken. He believed that his experiences had inoculated him against fear, that he was immune to the childish terrors that haunted the shadows. But the house on Nooseneck Hill held a different kind of horror, a horror that whispered instead of screamed, a horror that wormed its way into your mind and slowly unraveled your sanity.
He resolved to restore his family's name and prove that the house held no power over them. He would renovate it, modernize it, make it a symbol of progress and enlightenment.
He believed that by confronting the darkness head-on, he could banish it, prove that it was nothing more than a figment of their imaginations. But the house had other plans. It was a place of ancient power, a place where the walls between worlds were thin, and it would not be so easily defied. Despite William's efforts, the strange occurrences continued. Objects moved on their own. Shadows danced in the periphery, and a feeling of oppressive dread permeated the very air. The house seemed to resist his attempts to tame it, as if it resented his intrusion. The whispers grew louder, the footsteps heavier, the unseen presence more palpable. It was as if the house itself were awakening from a long slumber, its malevolent energy growing stronger with each passing day. Doors slammed shut without a breeze, disembodied voices whispered from empty rooms, and the stench of decay lingered in the air, despite their best efforts to clean and ventilate. Even William, with his military bearing and steely resolve, could not shake the feeling that they were not alone. He began to experience the same unsettling events that had plagued his family before him. He would wake in the dead of night to the sound of his name being whispered, feel the touch of unseen hands on his skin, and see fleeting glimpses of movement in the shadows at the edge of his vision. The house was playing a deadly game, toying with their minds, slowly chipping away at their sanity. It was a game they could not win, a game they were destined to lose.